Hi everyone, I'm Allie with Potomac Beads. Let's go back to the basics in this curvy cubed bracelet. We can use cubes and 2-hole beads to create a nice curvature with little to no work. Remember, if you need any supplies, go ahead and look below the video in the description. Do that drop down area, you can gather all your supplies and then start to learn with us now. So this bracelet is just a nice reminder that you can do a really simple design and a really simple stitch very quickly, and it looks great. You don't have to waste a ton of time on it. So I'm going to be using some crystal cubes for this design. I have 4mm and 2mm cubes, 11 seed beads, and you need a 2-hole bead. I'm working with a 2-hole lentil, and we are working with a infinite clasp, and I have kind of bringing that color mix together of the purple and the blue, that nice vitriol light that we will glue on there. The first thing I'm doing is working with 2 needles. Yes, I said 2 needles. I know some of you aren't huge fans of 2 needles, but this one is really easy, I promise. I've taken 5 feet of thread and put a needle on each end of that thread and looped around my infinite clasp once and twice through that center loop. I'm going to grab one 11 seed bead and put it over both needles to drop down next to the clasp, making sure that I have about the same amount of thread on both sides of the needle. Here's where our needles separate. We're going to pick up one needle, one cube, one seed bead, one cube, one seed bead of the 4mm. And then on the opposite side, we're going to pick out one of our 11 followed by a cube, and we're going to do that 3 times. We're going to end and start with an 11-0. So you'll actually end up with 4 11-0s and 3 cubes right there on your needle. We're going to let that fall down next to our clasp, and then we're going to pick up our nice 2-hole lentil, one needle going through right to left, and the other through the other hole. So we're just taking them through the same one, and we've established now which thread goes to the right and which thread goes to the left. You can see that the 2mm are going to puff out on the sides of the crystal. The needle that's on the right, that was the 6mm, is now going to shift to my 4 of my 2mm beads, my 3 2mm beads with my 4 seed beads in between. So I have that there on that side. At the same time, while my thread and needle are in my hand, I'll grab my next lentil and drop that on. And I'll do one more as well, so we're alternating. So there's another one of my 6mm cube. So we're going to constantly alternate between our 3 2s and our 1 6. Once I have a couple inches here, I'll go into go onto the other side and pick up the other needle. So there's 4 sets there, again, opposite each time. From here, then I'm going to take my right needle and just kind of stick it down into my mat, grab my left needle, and since I'm coming out after 3 of my 2mm crystals, I'm going to go in and put on one of my 4mm crystals. Again, always the seed bead before and after each crystal. I'm going to go through that 2-hole lentil that's next, through the open hole, and then on to the next part of the design. I'm not worrying right now about pulling my thread too tight, because naturally that will happen as we go in and we create the bracelet. It'll create those waves to it. So then here, after my 2mm or my one single 4mm, I do my 3 2s. Again, always make sure you have an 11 seed bead before and after. Let that drop down, and now go to the next lentil that has that open hole, and simply take your needle and thread through it. So simple, but what's happening is that the difference in the amount of space that the beads take up is what's causing it to get this nice wave look. So as you pull your thread and needle through and you push them up, see how that lentil just creates that nice section that holds it into place, and the 3mm or the 3 2mm are going to take up more surface space. So that's how we're getting that zigzag motion. I'm going to continue the whole length of my bracelet, adding in those opposite ends. So making sure when you're on the right, your needle stays to the right, needle on the left stays to the left. Once you have the bracelet as long as you need it to, you're going to attach the end. So you can see I've gone the whole way here, finishing off the bracelet. When you pull that thread tight, you get that nice wave in it, whether or not you're doing it in dark colors or light colors. Funny how different it can look. We're going to repeat the same thing that we did at the other end, grabbing both needles together, and then we are going to pick up one bead and put both needles through that one bead. Drop it down next to the end, and here's where you want to make sure to kind of give that nice tight pull, because we do want the thread rather tight or taut to get that wave design. Go ahead now and go through the back of the clasp portion through that tongue, both threads again going through there. Go through that 11-0 seed bead again, both needles. So we went up through it, through the clasp, both needles through. Once again, nice tight pull to tighten up those threads so you don't have any extra thread showing at the top here. And then from here, what we are going to do is we are going to reinforce the one side. So I'm just taking my time here, tightening that up, making sure I have that nice bend. Whichever side is closer, take your needle, go through the next 11-0 seed bead, the next 6mm cube, 11-0 seed bead, and through that 2-hole lentil. Coming out that 2-hole lentil, then we're going to reverse the thread, going into the opposite hole of the 2-hole lentil. So this is just with that left needle right now, up through the 11-0 seed bead, as well as your 2mm cubes, all the way till you get to the top, where your thread ends match and meet. So I'm going right up here to the top. I'm going to grab those thread ends. We're going to grab both sides of the thread ends here. Really simple. We're going to tie a knot. Just right over left, left over right, and then we're going to burn our thread edges. If you want to, you can go up through the clasp one more time to reinforce it. And once you have that nice tight knot, grab that thread burner. Take your thread burner, heat that up, just pressing in the button there, and then take it, burn through the threads. You can then burn down flat the thread ends, creating those little balls on the end there. And then the last thing to do for our Curvy Cube bracelet is just to glue on our clasp. So all we have to do to glue on our clasp is grab some of our glue. We're going to be using Ultra Gel, and this is the Loctite glue. We're going to take our infinite clasp, add a little bit of glue into that infinite clasp. Grab your cabochon here, push it down onto there. And when I'm gluing, I like to do a little spin on that clasp so that way you make sure that the glue gets equally distributed along it. And you can see how fun it is with that nice curved look. Give yourselves about 5 minutes for that glue to dry. And then you have your fun curvy cubed bracelet already completed and ready to go. See how that nice curve happens really, really organically and so simple, really with any 2-hole bead. Thanks so much for having fun creating the Curvy Cube bracelet. This would also look great as a choker design if you wanted to do that. And you can take some of this idea and you can even make it into earrings. So these simple tips and techniques can be used in a lot of different jewelry fashions and ways. Lots of different materials to use for this one, 2-hole bead, as well as a couple different sizes of beads. Remember, if you do need any supplies, go ahead and look below the video in the description. We'll put links to our website there that you can purchase from us online. If you haven't yet, also like this video and comment if you do any changes. It really helps to build out our community. As always, thanks for joining and stay tuned for our next inspirational video.